I'm waiting to make sure you guys are there, given the delay. Hello. Welcome to the program, March 16, 2026, a Monday. That's my Monday sigh. Since I haven't spoken to you since last Thursday. And oh, dear God in heaven. All right. Okay. So right now, I have to tell you, winds are supposed to pick up. Winds ain't what they used to be. Winds are supposed to pick up. And I'm looking at a tree right there that I have been waiting to fall down for some time. And if it does and comes my way, I'm dead. It's huge. It's a huge old oak, and it's dead, pretty much. The folks who own that tree, ain't me, had intended to have it taken down because they don't want it falling on their houses either. And they were going to do it last Friday. And it didn't happen because Friday, if you'll recall, the winds started. Some of the highest winds outside of a thunderstorm. There was no storm, just winds that Pittsburgh has ever seen. And it took down lots of trees. And I thought, wouldn't it be ironic? The very day that was going to be taken down so it wouldn't kill me, they couldn't do that because of the high winds, which took the tree down and killed me. So it's still there. I'm just nervous because I never used to think of dying by having a tree or part of a tree fall on me, but I'm rethinking that. I really am, because I keep reading about people dying that way. It's much more possible than getting hit by lightning. Hope you guys did okay I have a pile of huge branches in my backyard, which some from that tree, I'm sure. So I got to get a hard hat, I think. I mean, the weather, guys. Since I spoke to you last, 4 days, I think we've had temperatures in the 80s, low 80, 81, temperatures in the low 20s, historic high winds, down trees. There's snow in the forecast for later today. And what am I forgetting? I mean, it's ridiculous. And there was a tornado warning. That's it. I was sitting here last time I talked to you. I said, when the show's done, I'm going to go work on this jigsaw puzzle I got over here, which is driving me nuts. So I was doing that, and man, my phone, did yours? Bah! I jumped 20 feet into the air. And I mean, it's good that there's that. They can warn us like that so intimately, probably giving people heart attacks. So I jumped 20 feet into the air, and it said tornado warning. And I looked out my window, and it wasn't even raining. And I thought, nah. And then I thought, well, I checked the radar. We might end up in the bay. Do you know what I did? I popped some popcorn. This is the middle of the afternoon. What was I? All of a sudden I thought, pop some popcorn. And if you end up down in the basement, which is a boring place to be, and the dog will be all freaked out, you'll at least, he loves popcorn. I think that's what I was thinking. You can anxiously eat popcorn, and he can anxiously eat popcorn. But I never realized that would be on my list of things to do when a tornado warning sounds. I don't think popcorn is on anybody who's thinking rationally list. Okay. You're a beautiful old tree. Your time has come. But please, please don't kill me. Okay. Gigi said she was almost crushed by a tree while hiking yesterday. You know, I went to the synagogue Friday night. I never go to the synagogue. But my Christian friend, who's she's a believer. She reads the Bible every day. She's an elder in her church. And she called me and she said, "Are you going to the synagogue tonight?" I said, "No, I never go." She said, "I'd like to go to the synagogue." And I thought, clearly she didn't say it, but she was responding to the attack on the synagogue in Michigan, and she wanted to show support. And I thought, how lovely. So, because of my true Christian friend, we attended services, and the power was out. And on my way driving back home with the wind howling, I twice had to detour. I was very close to my house, but twice detour because of trees that had fallen and shut down streets. One right near Tree of Life, big tree came down and was blocking Wilkins Avenue. So yeah, that was something. And the weather that's coming just dumped an extraordinary amount of snow on my hometown of Green Bay. Susan was supposed to drive up there today, but she ain't going anywhere. This weather and the weather, I've been reading about El Nino, and they're already saying that there is a heat wave that is about to descend, I guess, on the southwestern part of the country that'll be unbelievable for this time. And I bring all this up because quite clearly this is not just out of the blue. This is part of what we've been warned about for the last 20, 30 years, which we initially called global warming. And then that proved to be easily mocked because of, harsher winters in places. So global climate change. And now we are, as you know, beset by this extreme weather that we've never seen before. Dangerous weather. People dying from cold, people dying from heat, people dying from trees falling on them. And it will, of course, this weather create all kinds of other issues, droughts, wildfires. Anyway, I say all that because I think I mentioned this before, but I saw another article about it and it just so angered me. I couldn't see straight. Our extraordinarily destructive government under the I'm out of adjectives. under Donald Trump is now literally breaking with intent an institution called the National Center for Atmospheric Research. It's in Colorado, and it's been there for, I think, about 50 years or 60 years. And it is responsible, that place, for most of the biggest scientific advances in understanding what was coming. And then, obviously, how allowing the people in Washington and other places to then respond. So the National Center for Atmospheric Research, a place with scientists in it, has been the nucleus of our knowledge about what was to come and now what is and what will come in the future. They're closing it down. Trump. Project 2025. It was up there on the list because, as the guy who's implementing all of this, Russell Vought, because, as he put it, the center is, quote, one of the largest sources of climate alarmism in the country. Climate alarmism. Yeah, they're dismantling it. The scientists who work, anybody who knows what its mission is and what it has been doing knows that it is central to understanding what is going on there in the atmosphere, in the oceans, with air pollution, climate change. And so we will be less prepared, less knowledgeable, less capable. It's hard not to see what Trump and his minions are doing, and not, if you were just coming in from Mars and looked, you would think that he and his cohort are actively trying to kill as many Americans, and frankly, people all over the world, as they can. That they're intent on killing, intent on pillaging. And you would also look at this US president and his cohort and think they were in league with Russia on so many levels. It's mind-blowing. This war we're in, week 3, is not doing anybody any favors except one country, Russia. There's only one country that is seeing from this. We've lifted the sanctions on their oil. They're making money hand over fist. We are shooting off missiles and all the stuff that potentially we could have given Ukraine in its fight against Russia. They ain't going to get it. We're using it now. He is destabilized through this, even more so Europe. their economies. It's mind-blowing. And so, I mean, I don't know if you if, I don't know. Okay, I'll stop. I was gonna start easy. You start by talking about the weather. That's why people talk about the weather. But it turns out the weather now is not just sort of this convivial kind of, "Hey, nice weather we're having, huh?" No, the weather leads you to, Armageddon now. Son of a bitch. So, all right, I better move into, the Oscars. Um, there were some good there was some entertaining stuff. I don't care about the award so much, but, in between this, that, and the other thing, I like that the dresses are back to normal, mostly. Um, I thought that dance sequence, um, and the music sequence, from Sinners was just mind-blowingly good. I It's so complex, so I mean, what it was a history. It was this extra if you haven't seen it, look it up. It was a history of Black music and dance, and, oh my god, I mean, it was mind-blowing, just mind-blowing. So, that was the best, I thought. It's my opinion, right? And, I thought Conan O'Brien was good in what's often called the most impossible emceeing job there is. He was okay, not and he did say this at the beginning, which I appreciated. For the first time in history, no British actor or actress was nominated for the best actor or best actress. For the first time in history? I mean, I was gonna say, didn't he say recent history? No, for the first time in history, no British actor or actress was up for an Oscar in those 2 major categories. And he went on to say, and when asked for comment, the British said, "Hey, we at least arrest our pedophiles." Oh, that got a bit of a I thought it should have had a bigger ovation myself, but what do I know? Um, and I love the opening, even though I never saw that movie. The opening, pre-taped opening where he was playing the character that, what's her name? Amy Madigan? Is that her name? Who won Best Supporting Actress, won for this grotesque character. And he was playing her, and obviously in the movie she's in, she's chased by children or something. And it was, I thought, really well done, very funny, running through other of the shows. That stuff can be really a tough thing to produce. Well done. The in memoriam section was the longest ever because we lost so many icons this year, and they made a point of, you know, zeroing in on some at the beginning. The fact that Conan O'Brien was emceeing, and he, in fact, one of the last people to see the Reiners alive, he had given a party that they'd gone to with their son. Their son had gotten in a fight. And then later, that after the party killed them. So that Conan O'Brien, I can't even begin to imagine. And he introduced Billy Crystal, a dear friend of Reiner's, and Crystal did a beautiful, heartfelt thing, I thought. And then Barbara Streisand was brought out to do the same for her good buddy Robert Redford, and others, zeroing in on some of the wondrous women like Diane Keaton. And then I must say that when Streisand at the end started singing from the movie she had been in with him, The Way We Were, it was powerful. And her voice was sort of there. Oh yeah, they didn't put Bridget Bardot's picture up. She was a piece of work. She's a right winger. Oh my. Anyway, I don't know what else to say about it. I don't care at all about the award. I really think in 5-10 years we'll look back and say they gave the best picture to what? Because I don't think that movie is. I mean, it was okay. I think they got it wrong. Just saying. Okay, that's all I have to say. Hey, I do have to. I'll try to remember. There will not be a show tomorrow, and I'm sorry. When you're my age, you spend a lot of time. Like, what do you do with your time? Well, you spend a lot of time going to doctors. It's ridiculous, or getting tests. So it turns out I have to have like a doctor who I'm seeing on Thursday, and my doctor, the PCP, and that doctor insist I get this test, blah, 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 blah. And the only way, so the fact that I was able to get it, but the only time is tomorrow during the show. I can't. I gotta do what I do, spend a lot of time doing, tending to my corporeal disintegration. As that's what you do. That's what you do. It reminds me of, I'm sure I've shared this a million times, but when my dad was nearing his end, which took a long time. So from the time he was my age now, if you would say to him, "Hi, how you doing?" He always responded in the same way. "I'm diminished." And it's true. It's interesting how aging is a lot about loss. You lose stuff. You lose your keys. You lose your mind. You lose your balance. But it also, I think, is a fine time in a life in many ways, amidst all the loss. And you lose your friends because and because they die. And so you get better if you live long enough at this loss. You do. And and that's good. I can see that, with life, you never there's no reason to ever stop growing, even if you are at the same time disintegrating. There are other ways, to grow. Oh. So, I think that's it. No, it's not. What are you talking about? That's it. Um, oh, and Robert, I know, he says, and to make matters worse, we won't hear you tomorrow. And Susan. But as it turns out, when I told Susan, she said, oh, thank God, because she is trying to get to Green. She needed to travel. She had house guests. So she was sort of a bouncing off the wall wreck anyway. So it just didn't work for us this Tuesday, and I'm sorry. So that's just it. Are those skylights? Yes, those are. Those are skylights. And when I bought this house some 30 years ago, the reason it was on the market in part was, I think, those skylights, because they leaked. I mean, the floor was concrete. People had been pulling up floors, God knows how many times, and they just said, "Fuck it, let's get out of here." So, yeah, those are. And there's other skylights in the house. The house is extremely bright, which is good. It's nice, except in the summer when it can, get very, very hot. But whatever. Yeah. Okay. So we should get to I'm sorry. The war. I don't want to talk about it. I just want to say that, man, there ain't no. He can either say he won it and walk away, which leaves an extraordinary mess, or he can go in and try to secure it, which will mean unbelievable amounts of dead people. All because what? This is insanity. It's insanity. Oh, I do have one good news thing. Where did I find that? It was in, maybe some of you saw it. If you get the Week magazine, this was such a nice story. I got to share it with you. It made me happy. There's a restaurant in Toledo, Ohio, that is high end. It's called The Standard. And it's owned by two people, Jeff Dinabell, which is funny because it sounds like dinner bell. I'm Nate. Jeff Dinabell and Megan Linksweiler. And after their busy season in December and January, things then drop down after the new year in the restaurant biz. And what these two did is they told their employees, 60 in number. And that's everybody from the busboys to the chefs to the wait staff to everybody. They told their 60 employees that they were flying them down to Florida and putting them on a ship and giving them a holiday, a cruise. I think a three-day cruise. And it wasn't just their current employees. They invited back some former employees. They even took along some like regular customers. But it was like, I don't know, almost 100 people in all. They footed the bill, air travel, boat, all of it. And the cook, one of the cooks, a guy named Andrew Jackson, he'd never been on a plane. He'd never been on the ocean. And he had a ball. And they quote him as saying, everybody went on there as employees, and we came back like a family. Isn't that, why aren't there more bosses, employers with hearts like that, with gratitude like that for the people who allow them to have their business, for it to be successful, who see their employees as important and family, necessary and family, not as people you screw. Not as people you try to get as much out of as you can and pay them as little as you can. So I love that story. And I also saw something I did not know, maybe you did. There was a story about Mayor of New York, Mamdani, about his father. His father is a professor at Columbia and is also a quite well-known figure in Africa. And is just has been a powerful presence in many ways. But his son has now eclipsed him. It's funny when things flip like that. Like Zoran Mamdani was always Mahmoud Mamdani's son, and now Mahmoud Mamdani is Zoran's father. And that it seems to me that often with the sons of powerful or successful men, it's that doesn't usually happen. It seems to me very often that the sons of powerful men never quite navigate out of that huge shadow or are troubled by it or who knows what. Fathers and sons, that can be a really heavy. I suppose mothers and daughters can be too. Anyway, in reading about him, he had an interest. He was born in India, in Mumbai, but then his family went to Uganda, and he's lived in a number of countries in Africa. And when he was living in Kampala, the capital of Uganda, in 1963, he got a scholarship to study in the United States in college. And the scholarship was to the University of Pittsburgh. And nothing else is said in the story but that. But I hadn't seen that before. And then after Pittsburgh, he, I guess, tried to go, he went back to Uganda where his family was. But then Uganda was under the thumb of a guy named Idi Amin. And Idi Amin expelled people that were not African, that were of Southeast Asian ancestry, like Indians, sort of like what we're doing here. He said, "You're not our people. Get the hell out." And so he ended up in London, Mamdani. And then from there, who knows, back to after, this guy was all over the place. So I just wanted to point that out. I didn't know there was a connection to here. Another thing I just want to mention, because I don't think I've spoken at any length about it, is keep your eye on Cuba. I mean, all of my life, Cuba has been, pops up in the news in very big ways. I have a distinct memory of being in junior high school, and the Cuban Missile Crisis was happening. It would have been what, 60, 62, 61, 62, 63, somewhere in there. And I remember I was sitting with friends, and we really felt that we could all be blown up any second. There was a nuclear standoff. The Russia and the US were staring down each other. And I remember being so angry and saying, I should be able to fight. I was mad that I couldn't do anything but just be a victim. I remember it so strongly. But Cuba, and we are essentially, if this time weren't so chaotic, we would be paying a lot more attention to Cuba, given what we're doing to Cuba. And we are blockading Cuba ever since we did the Maduro, Venezuela thing, and the Gulf of America, which we own. We've been killing, blowing boats out of the water and going in and taking people out of countries and sticking them in our jails. And then we blockaded Cuba so that they cannot get any oil, any fuel. It's an island. It requires lots of stuff coming in. Now, my understanding is a blockade of another country is an act of war. I mean, we are, even though we don't call it that, we are at war. We have committed acts of war on so many countries that it's hard to even keep track because it's not covered that way. But I feel we're at war with Cuba. And it's taken them down. Now, some people who wanted to get the commies out of Cuba ever since Fidel came in, I'm sure are looking at this as incredible, because you've got the Cuban government actually in talks with our government. You've got Cuban people now in the streets. You don't see those kinds of protests in Cuba. So we have created a situation where for the first time it is conceivable that that communist regime is on a truly rickety footing. And as I said, a lot of people might say this is the one thing Trump's done, which is probably not so bad, at least for the people of Cuba, assuming they'd be able to not go back to the capitalistic Batista regime before Castro, but be able to figure things out themselves. Lots of luck with that. I don't have a clue. I just want to say that that country's about to explode. And the Vatican is involved, which is interesting. So the Pope, who, as you know, spent much of his tenure in the church, not in this country, but in South America. He totally is part and parcel of the Americas, largely writ. And his concern for what's going on there is very real. And the Pope had the Vatican's a country. The Pope had his Secretary of State, I think that's what it's called, get in touch with the Cubans and the United States. And so the Vatican is playing like there's a triangular thing going on here with Cuba, the Vatican, and the US. And given the fact that it's an American Pope, I find this fascinating. And I just wanted to say to you, keep your eye on it. I'm not seeing a lot of, I can't imagine why I'm not seeing a lot of reporting on it, because, like, really, what else is happening? But how you just keep seeing something and thinking, wait a minute here. The Vatican Secretary of State, I did see this, said that he had spoken to Cuba's foreign minister and taken the necessary steps to promote a dialogue-based solution to the problem with the United States essentially making war on them through a blockade. So you got the Vatican, who might be able to at least keep this from getting out of control. The fact is the blockade has been very successful, and the country, Cuba, and its people are suffering. The people are suffering. So keep an eye on that. And the Cuban government told the Vatican, hey, we're going to they let 51 political prisoners out to show that they were, intent on doing the right thing. And then this article I saw said that the White House said that any deal with the Cubans is going to have to include the release of all, not just 51, all their political prisoners. And then get this list of what the Trump administration is telling the Cuban government. he also says he wants to see an end to the criminalization of dissent. Ain't that a kick? Trump is demanding the Cuban government end their criminalization of dissent as his government, Trump's, institutes the criminalization of dissent in his own country. He also insists that there be more political parties. Okay. And get this, Donald Trump insists on the restoration of basic civil liberties for the Cuban people, including freedom of the press and freedom of speech. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Donald Trump exporting freedom of the press and freedom of the speech while making sure he shuts it down in the United States. It's, you can't make it up. You can't make it up. Irony is dead. Satire is in a coma. God. Anyway, keep your eye on that one. Remember Greenland? That's calmed down. That's good. And Ecuador, don't even. We got troops in Ecuador. Shh, 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 shh. Anyway, I think that's it. All righty. Oh, there was another Oscar moment I wanted to. The first time a woman won an Oscar for cinematography. Do you believe that? There'd never been. You stop and think about when you think, who's behind the camera? Yeah. Well, increasingly women are. And it's the first time a woman had won. And it's the cinematographer for Sinners. And her name is Autumn Arkapaw. She's not only a woman, she's a woman of color. And she gave a lovely acceptance speech. And in it, she said, I wouldn't be here without women. The women who stood by me, the women, women support women. And she asked all the women in the hall to stand. And they did. And it was powerful to see all those women. But it's interesting she did that because just the other day, I had watched a clip from a past Academy Award in which Frances McDormand had won Best Actress, I think. And she's, I don't know, she's holding an Oscar. And I'm assuming, she won a few, she should have. I'm assuming it was Fargo. I don't know. But McDormand, so what this woman did last night, maybe she knew of it. McDormand did that night, and that was some time ago. And she said, I wouldn't be here without women. And she had asked the women to stand. And it was very powerful. It was a very powerful speech because McDormand is one hell of a extraordinary woman, and she was really putting it to Hollywood for undervaluing women, for just really reading them the riot act, and so it was very, very powerful. And I wonder if the fact that I saw that a few days ago, I was wondering when this woman did it, if she had seen it as well. Hey, you know how you can't believe anything you see anymore or hear? I, again, out of the corner of my eye, but I haven't really immersed myself. I've been aware of a trial that was going on. I think there's been convictions in Fort Worth, Texas, of protesters. Speaking of the criminalization of dissent, protesters, a number of them, in an anti-ICE protest, and somehow the prosecution they brought terrorism charges against the protesters. Because if you're protesting, as you know, under our Department of Homeland Security, you're a domestic terrorist. And in this court in Texas, that's been front and center. These protesters are terrorists. And I don't know the specifics of what happened. I know there was some violence. Usually when there's violence and you've got ICE and you've got protesters, there's very little problem figuring who starts the violence. It's ICE. But in this case, these guys are charged with it. And terrorism charges, which carry stiff prison sentences. And the prosecution is also saying that they're Antifa. And as you know, Antifa is they got no post office address. They got no president. They got no hierarchical. So there is no Antifa. And I saw again on social media, and I refuse to believe it, that these guys had been convicted and sentenced to 10 to 60 years. Wouldn't that be a big story? I hate this, that you read that shit and it looks totally, but I didn't read it, and so I should shut up. But I'm interested in this this trial, and if in fact there has been a conviction, I don't know if there's been sentencing. And I mean, you could say to me, well, just look it up, bitch. You're right, I could look it up. Excuse me. Thank you. I needed that. Oh, because if that were true, I mean, that's just so huge. It's ridiculous. Yeah, Nomadland. God, that was good. She won for Nomadland. She won for Fargo. She won for 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. 2017. I think it was that. It was 2017 because Fargo was way back, 96. So she's won 3 best. I can't, every time I think of her now, I cringe because I had a cringe moment with her. You know how when you meet somebody you really admire and you blow it? I know I've told you the story. I blew it. I just, oh, Russ Bell telling you, she was the producer of Nomadland, which won Best Picture in 2020. Well, maybe it was that, because who the hell knows? I don't know. But if you've never seen Nomadland, that's the only other movie I saw it was on Netflix. It was one of the short films that won. It's oh, maybe it didn't win. Yeah, it did. It won. Called The Singers. And look it up. It's on Netflix. It's all of, 12 minutes, not a big time commitment. And it did win. It's very good. And another thing I watched over the last few days was a nominee but did not win, which was, whoa, a documentary, full-length documentary called The Perfect Neighbor. I think that's on Netflix now. Netflix or Hulu, because that's where I saw it. Wow. It's hard to watch. They're all hard to watch. All those documentaries are about things you just want to. But this is one that takes place next door in Ohio. And the documentarians did something fascinating with it. The whole thing, almost the whole thing, is video taken from the body cams worn by the local police. So the whole thing, you're watching just the body cam of police, and amazingly, these cops had their things on. They had it on all the time. So you walk over to interview people with them, you this, that, and it's a fascinating look at what happened in this one neighborhood because of one deranged, evil, effing woman. And you see her over and over again because she keeps calling the cops. She's the, classic neighbor lady who screams at the kids, but she calls the cops. Well, I got to tell you, it's some powerful stuff. Hard to watch, but powerful stuff. And the immediacy of being there throughout is just brilliant. And I just want to say, give that a watch if you can. I don't know if it was Me Too. I don't know. Frances McDormand, she's married to one of the Coen brothers. She spent a lot of her childhood here in, I don't know which little bailiwick. There's so many little bailiwicks around Pittsburgh. But her dad was sort of an itinerant minister. And so she lived in a lot of places, but I think spent quite a bit of time here as a maybe teenager, not sure. But then she went off and married that Jew. Okay, I guess that's it for me. I'm looking at that tree that's gonna kill me later today. You know what's so sad is these trees, they're falling down. In my neighborhood, when I moved into this neighborhood, there were so many huge trees, and there's so few now, and they're not well. And people cut them down when they shouldn't. That tree that is going to be cut down is a danger because it is essentially dead and needs to come down. And there's one next to it, it's not doing so well either, but it's got a little life in it. So that's not coming down, although that baby could fall and kill me too. I but I'm gonna end up with no trees. One of the reasons I loved this house was it was surrounded by these huge trees and they're gone. Why won't anybody plant trees? I mean, big trees. They plant, little trees, fruit trees and stuff like that. But who plants oaks and elms and you know what I mean? We got to. Just saying. Russ Belt saying she lived in Monessen. Okay. Anyway, all right, guys. Dear God in heaven. So, I won't be here tomorrow. I'm sorry about that. Believe me, I'd much rather be here than where I'm going. But as I said, I need to tend to my corporeal disintegration. Lucky to be around to be corporeally disintegrating.